Benvenuti alle conversazioni e bentornati a Writers on Writers. Gli ospiti di questa settimana sono Laurie Anderson con un brano di Wang Ji, Taryn Simon con un brano della Parker Williams, Amitav Ghosh che ha scelto Tagore ed infine Nicola La Gioia che invece ha scelto Faulkner. Concluderò la puntata con una breve lettura da Pirandello.
Thus should you see this floating world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. The Diamond Sutra.
I'm Taryn Simon, and I'll be reading from Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper. I start, we'll say at the bottom, down in the corner over there where it's not been touched, and I determine for the 1000th time that I'll follow the pointless pattern to some sort of a conclusion. I know a little of the principle of design, and I know this thing was not arranged on any laws of radiation or alternation or repetition or symmetry or anything else that I ever heard of. It's repeated, of course, by the breaths, but not otherwise. Looked at in one way, each breath stands alone. The bloated curves and flourishes, a kind of debased Romanesque with delirium tremens, go waddling up and down in isolated columns of fatuity. But on the other hand, they connect diagonally, and the sprawling outlines run off in great slanting waves of optic horror, like a lot of wallowing seaweeds in full chase. The whole thing goes horizontally too, at least it seems so, and I exhaust myself in trying to distinguish the order of its going in that direction. They've used a horizontal breadth for a frieze, and that adds wonderfully to the confusion. There's one end of the room where it's almost intact, and there, when the crosslights fade and the low sun shines directly upon it, I can almost fancy radiation after all. The interminable grotesques seem to form around a common center and rush off in headlong plunges of equal distraction. It makes me tired to follow it. I will take a nap, I guess.
Hello. I'm Amitav Ghosh, and I'm going to read to you today a few pages from a short story by Rabindranath Tagore, the Bengali writer who won the Nobel Prize in 1913. I'm Bengali myself, and I translated the story myself. The story is called Hungry Stone, and it was written in 1895. We met him on the train, my cousin and I, on our way back to Calcutta, after a trip around the country during the Puja holidays. At first, we took him for a North Indian Muslim because of the way he was dressed. As for his conversation, it left us utterly baffled. He held forth on every conceivable subject, and with such confidence that you would think the Creator himself never moved a finger except on his advice. We'd had no idea that there were so many unheard-of goings-on in the world, that the Russians had advanced so far, that the British had so many hidden designs, that there was so much trouble brewing amongst our own Rajas and Maharajas. We had been entirely at peace with the world till then, not having known anything about all this. But then, as our newfound friend said with a tight little smile, there happen more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are reported in your newspapers. We were real innocents. This was the first time we had been away from home. He held us spellbound. On the slightest of pretexts, he would switch from lecturing us on science to expounding the Vedas or reciting Persian poetry. And since we knew nothing about science or the Vedas or Persian poetry, our awe of him increased with every word he uttered. My cousin, who was a theosophist, was even convinced that the stranger had some sort of supernatural power, some magnetism or divine force or an astral body or something of the kind. He hung upon the lightest word from this unusual man with the rapt attention of a devotee, even jotting down notes in secret. I felt the great man too knew what was going on, and although he didn't let on, he was not in the least bit displeased. When we got to the station, where we were to change trains, we went off to the waiting room together. It was 10:30. We learnt there was a long wait ahead. Our train had been delayed for some reason or the other. I made up a bed for myself on one of the tables, hoping to catch some sleep. But just then, the great man launched upon a story. There was not to be any sleep for me that night. When I went to work for the Nizam's government in Hyderabad, having quit my job in Junagadh state because of certain disagreements over administrative matters, my new employers chose to send me, because of my youth and good health, to the outlying town of Barich to handle the collection of cotton revenues. Barich stands upon a very romantic site. Beneath a range of lonely mountains, the fast-flowing river Shusta runs like a nimble dancer through towering forests along its winding, rippling course. Right on its banks, looming in solitude at the foot of the mountains, at the top of a flight of 150 stone steps, rises a palace built of white marble. There is no habitation anywhere nearby. The village and the cotton market of Barich are a good distance away. Thank you, and this is the collection from which I was reading. Goodbye.
Da un po' dopo le 2, sin quasi al tramonto del lungo, immoto, afoso, estenuato, morto pomeriggio di settembre, rimasero seduti in quello che Miss Caulfield chiamava ancora l'ufficio, perché così l'aveva chiamato suo padre, una buia stanza calda senz'aria, con le persiane tutte chiuse e inchiavardate da 43 stati, perché quando era ragazza lei qualcuno era convinto che la luce e l'aria mossa portassero calore e che al buio facesse comunque più fresco, una stanza che, come il sole andava battendo sempre più piano su quel lato della casa, si zebrava di lame gialle dense di pulviscolo che Kentin pensava formato di minuscole scaglie della stessa vecchia vernice rinsecchita e morta in via di scrostarsi dalle persiane e sospinta all'interno come dalla forza del vento. C'era una pianta di glicini che fioriva per la seconda volta quell'estate su una graticciata di legno davanti a una finestra da cui ogni tanto entravano i passeri affolati intermittenti, levando un secco suono vivido e polveroso prima di andarsene, e di rimpetto a Kentin, Miss Caulfield, nell'eterno lutto che portava ormai da 43 anni, se per una sorella, il padre o un marito mancato nessuno sapeva, seduta così eretta nella diritta seggiola dura, tanto alta per lei che le gambe le pendevano ritte e rigide, come se avesse stinchi e caviglie di ferro, staccate dal pavimento, con quell'aria di rabbia imponente e stanca che hanno i piedi dei bambini, e parlava con quella sua cupa voce stanca e stupefatta, fin quando si finiva per non poter più ascoltare, e il senso stesso dell'udito si confondeva e il sepolto oggetto della sua frustrazione impotente eppure indomabile ricompariva, quasi evocato da quell'offeso ricapitolare, quieto, disattento e innocuo, dalla paziente, sognante polvere vittoriosa. Questo è l'incipit di Assalon Assalon, uno dei più bei romanzi di William Faulkner e uno dei più bei romanzi del Novecento americano in generale, nella traduzione di Glauco Cambon.
Come anticipato, leggerò un brano di Luigi Pirandello, lo prendiamo dai Meridiani Mondadori, in particolare dal Meridiano curato da Mario Costanzo, e ho scelto una novella che si chiama L'eresia catara. Questo ne è l'incipit. Bernardino Lamis, professore ordinario di storia delle religioni, socchiudendo gli occhi addogliati e come soleva nelle più gravi occasioni, prendendosi il capo inteschiato tra le gracili mani tremolanti che pareva avessero in punta, invece delle unghie, 5 rose conchigliette lucenti, annunziò ai 2 soli alunni che seguivano con pertinace fedeltà il suo corso: diremo, signori, nell'avventura lezione dell'eresia catara. Buona lettura e ci vediamo la settimana prossima.